The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast. We are here to talk through this wonderful system that we love that helps us have less stress, more energy, and more happiness. And I think everyone would sign up for that, right, Ryan?
That's right. Following this simple plan, this simple system, the 15-point plan, it's just gonna give us a little more energy. It's just gonna give us a little bit less stress. And you're right. I don't know who doesn't want both those things.
So last time we went through kind of a recap of the 15-point plan. And so if you're new here and this is your first time listening, go back to last week, check out that episode before you listen to this one. Because we went through each of the 15 points. We went through how to use the plan. Hopefully, many of you are using it and are on your way with your tracker. But today we're going to talk about something, one of the points, we're going to dive deep into goals because if you're in business, a lot of you are in real estate, not all of you, but this is kind of the time of year where we look at what we've accomplished for the year, and then we look to the next year. And many of us are in the middle of business planning season right now. So we're dreaming and conjuring up what we want to architect in our lives for 2026.
Yeah, it's true. We're coming up on the end of 2025, going into the new year. And I'm really thankful that we have an organization that focuses so much time, especially a couple months in advance of the new year, where we recap, we reflect. So I think that's step number one when looking at your goals and setting goals is taking an inventory of where you're at and of where you want to go. And so leading into the end of one year, you might ask yourself, what were my goals going into this year? How far accomplished am I into those goals? And why did I even set those goals? Somebody brought up a really good point the other day. They're like, well, when you're in a group setting, you got to be kind of careful because if somebody next to you says, well, like, I want to make $100,000 and you wanted to make $50,000, now you feel bad and you think, well, actually, I want to make $100,000. But maybe the year before that, if you were like me, you made like $20,000, and making $50,000 would be a massive impact in your life. So it's just like, we've had some incredible guests that have run marathons and run multiple marathons and all these things. And I might go think, well, I'm going to go run a marathon, dang it. But I haven't run more than like a 5K, like a few miles. So setting goals can be exciting, but ask yourself, why are you setting that goal? Reflect on where you're at and then go forward. Right, Jacqueline?
Yeah, don't set a goal because it's someone else's goal. That's their goal. Set your own goal. I think it's funny that you mentioned that about, one person wanted to make 100K and then you wanted to make 50 and you kind of feel bad. And it's interesting because like a lot of times I see the opposite happen where someone is like wanting a bigger goal, but people kind of judge people and say like, well, I don't really care about money and money's not that important to me. My family's more important than money. And they make the people that actually do want bigger goals feel bad. And so it's interesting, right? Like it depends on who you're hanging out with. And it's another thing to consider, like as you're just setting goals is like who's influencing how you're thinking. And because it can influence you in many different ways and, influence you to think bigger or think smaller.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. We've talked a lot about Dr. Brian Hardy's book, The Science of Scaling. He has this idea on the idea of setting an impossible goal. And when he looked at goal setting and he looked at why people set goals, like you said, sometimes people are afraid to set goals because they're afraid to then make that goal public. And then they're afraid to, quote, not hit that goal and feel like a failure. When in reality, if we could only look at it the other way, if we could only flip that around and think, well, what if I set this goal? What if I set such a high goal, or as he calls an impossible goal, that I'm going to hit that goal and I'm going to hit well beyond that goal. And even if I don't hit that goal, I'm probably going to do far more than I would have. And now you have to change your idea of failure when you do that, though, right? A lot of people kind of contradicted that. They challenged that and they said, well, Jacqueline, if I set a goal of running a marathon and I only ran 15 miles, that's a failure. And you ask, well, what was the farthest you ran before that? Well, I ran 5 miles. Well, I don't know. You just tripled what you did previously. So is that a failure? Or can we use goals to simply push us farther by setting impossible goals? So I really enjoyed that conversation, this idea of impossible goals and the idea of how people, myself included, tend to take these goals and then just throw like a round number on it. Like, oh, well, I want to do this. Well, when do you want to do it by? Well, in 10 years, I want to do that. Well, why 10 years? Why not 2 years? What would that look like? What would that look like to have to do this in 2 years instead of 10 years? What kind of systems would you have to create? Who would you have to become in order to do that? And I've really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting just like looking at how different people set their goals so differently, because we have a pretty large team here in Southwest Washington, real estate team, and we do goal setting every year. And we'll always have like new people coming in, but we've got like our core group, and I've kind of gotten to know over the years, like, oh, this person, they set their goal and they achieve their goal like every year.
Mm.
They're consistent and they do what they say they're going to do. And then I have other people that set big goals and don't achieve them. I set some pretty big goals like for myself when I was newer in the business. And even when I partnered with Ben and came into place, I had some goals that, yeah, they felt impossible. And did I always hit them? No, but I always grew exponentially every single year. And then I kind of got tired of not hitting my goal. And actually, I let people influence me around me too. Not that I'm a victim. I could have made a different choice, but it's just interesting to think about. We have these big boards in our office. I know you guys do the same thing. And we have
Oh,
like
yeah.
all these houses, and when you don't have all of them filled up, like it kind of bums people out, especially if they're the kind that you just said, where it's like they focus more, like they're the ones that like really want to hit their goal. And
Yeah.
then they're hitting their goal, but the team isn't hitting it as a whole, and it kind of bums people out. It bums me out. And so then I started really getting into like, no, we're going to set goals and we're going to do them. And so they were realistic goals. Well, interestingly enough, since I got frustrated with not hitting the goal and started setting like realistic goals, we haven't really been growing that much. Like we've just been
Mm.
like, we're great, we're good, staying the same. And our team does really well. We're the number one team in Southwest Washington. So like no complaints by any means. But we stopped doing what I call transformational goal setting. It's the kind of
Yeah.
goal that causes you to transform the way you think, the way that you behave, the way you show up in the world. And, you get kind of stagnant.
Stagnant is one word. I was just thinking comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like we set these comfortable goals and they feel good. And like you said, it's like, gosh, you're the number one team. Like, gosh, you probably got a lot of agents making pretty dang good money. Gosh, there's a lot of reasons to stay in that comfort zone. But when we set a goal, we have to remind ourselves that oftentimes the goal is just the vehicle
Mhm.
to be the catalyst for change. Because
Mhm.
I think it's cool to be comfortable. I think there's a time and a place in our lives to be comfortable. I think it's a good thing to set a goal and to hit that goal. But what if you could keep growing? Like we have talked about so many different versions of ourselves. What if we looked at the goal as not just the ability to set that goal and achieving that goal, but using the goal to re-identify yourself along the way and grow into a new person along the way? And if we stay comfortable, then 5 years and 10 years, we look up and we go, okay, that was cool. But what about all the potential we may have left on the table or the lives we impacted that could have been even more and the example that we could have set? And we look up and we think, gosh, that was too comfortable. Did I do everything I could have done? Had I pushed myself a little bit more? Had I got out of that comfort zone a little bit more?
Yeah. And I think there's times where like, okay, so I look at those few years where we were a little stagnant, just kind of as a team. I wasn't like just not doing anything, during
Right.
those few years. I guess I just like refocused my attention elsewhere too, because I I was actually talking to a coach about this, and I was like, yeah, I've just been complacent and I haven't been doing anything. And then she goes, Jacqueline, what have you done the last couple of years? And I was like, yeah, I guess I did like lose 40 pounds. I, got really consistent with my health. I quit drinking alcohol completely. I got my pilot's license, and some other things. And so I didn't do nothing. So I think it's okay to maybe your goals are, yeah, more focused on your health and you're just maintaining in business so that you can do your health goal or whatever that year, or maybe go on some trips with your family on their before they all graduate and things like that. Those are still goals, but and I've really been thinking lately, Ryan, about this I don't know how to articulate it well, and you're kind of like the first person I'm really talking to about it, but this
Ooh,
idea,
let's hear it.
well, why do we have to choose? Like where this came up was my husband was like, he ran the Chicago Marathon, which we heard about. It was awesome. And he's just like fallen in love with like this whole marathon world. And he wants me to be in the world with him, right? And I'm like, I lost like my walking buddy here, Like so
Interesting.
I either need to find a new walking buddy, but I don't really want a new walking buddy. I want him to be my walking buddy. So, or I need to start like running so we can do this stuff together. Um,
Yeah.
and so, but I don't really want to do that. so
What a dilemma. Yeah.
so then he's like, come on, it'll be fun. We can do like the New York Marathon next year because I love New York. And if I was going to do a marathon, I think that would be like a really cool one to do. And so, and he's like, and I also want to do the London Marathon. I'm like, that would be cool too. And then I was like, but no, we're building a house and we're keeping our current house for an Airbnb. So we're going to have to buy like a lot of furniture,
Mm.
and because not like you're moving, from one house to the next. And so I'm like, that's going to cost a lot. We can't go on any trips this year. Like we can't do the marathon this year because we are doing this year. And he was like, why are you limiting us? Like, why,
Mm.
who says that we can't do both? And so then it's got me thinking about, well, when we're setting goals and we feel like we have to choose between the business that would fund like this, all these great things we want to do, we feel like we have to choose that between that and having a family life. Or we have to choose between buying a rental property and going on a trip with our family. We feel like, so then we don't do the rental property because we want to do the trip because we only have so many years with our kids. And we put off this like massive like wealth building opportunity that would be better to do early because then it would compound, longer. And so we're always like choosing instead of thinking from this abundant place of like, why do I have to choose? Like, who said that you have to
Mhm.
choose? You know?
That's a really great question. It's a really fortunate dilemma to be in. It falls
Sure.
into the category of the 15-point plan time aspect. Um, Brian Hardy, the Science of Scaling author, wrote, let your future be the basis of your present. It's like working towards all those things. And when we ruthlessly set these insane goals, we have to eliminate. So what I think of, Jacqueline, is Phil kind of got you there because you both are smart enough and sharp enough that I guarantee if you continue to refine what you do and how you do it, you can build that house
Mhm.
and have enough income to also go do the marathon. Now, you choosing to run over walk, that's a choice. But like the idea of the financial side of that, I think that really focuses you to get even more laser focused on your business, him even more focused on
Yeah.
his business. And that time aspect is real. And then just prioritizing. I had this similar dilemma of looking at the amount of like trail time I have to put in to do this
Yeah.
Kilimanjaro trek. I went on a 17-mile run hike the other day and it was 4 hours. And that just needs to become regular. And I was talking with one of my coaches about business. And I said, to be honest, I'm kind of scared going into the new year because I have to spend so much time on the trail, it might impact my business. And as I said that, I realized, okay, well, that expedition is in March.
Okay.
And so I had to just ask myself the question, and maybe this will help you and our listeners. My question to myself was, am I willing to sacrifice a few months of the rest of my life to achieve this insane goal? And the answer for me was yes. The
Mhm.
answer in that moment was yes, I'm willing to sacrifice an hour or two a day from some other areas of my life to put in the training to do this one thing that I want to do that is absolutely one of the most incredible things I will ever do in my life. So I just asked myself, am I simply willing to make that sacrifice? So maybe that's the question that we have to ask ourselves. Am I willing to sacrifice one area or one aspect of my life to go overly balanced in that other area for a small time?
Well, that's really awesome because yeah, you're like breaking like a world record doing this, right? Like this is a big
Yeah.
deal. And
Yeah.
here's the other thing though that I realized when you were talking and just through talking with some of our team members and like thinking about this stuff is like how often we are settling and we're actually talking ourselves out of these goals and dreams that we have before we even really let ourselves like fully dream about it.
Mm,
We're already deciding like, but we can't do that. But I don't know how I would do that. Well, I don't know, this person would judge me for doing that. Well, I don't have money to do that. And so we're actually like cutting dreams and dreaming out of our life because we get so focused on like the realistic, the how, the who, the what, the when, the, and all the limits. And so I came up with this thing called the 4Ds.
ooh.
And you can't skip ahead. Like you can't go right to the do
Huh.
before you take time to really dream. And so I'll say what the 4 do's are. Just let me get to it. So the first one is dream. And you have to fully let yourself dream. Like, don't think about how you're going to do it. Don't think about if you can do it. Don't think about who will like it or not like it or any of those things. Just like spend extra time like dreaming. I feel like just as a whole, we just all need to like dream more. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I just need to dream more.
No,
Then
you're 100%. Pause for a second. You are 100% right. And often, again, shameless plug for mindfulness. It's during that quiet time alone that we can dream while we're still
yeah.
awake. So okay, I love this. 4 Ds. Number one,
Okay,
dream. What's number two?
dream. The second one is decide. So once I fully let this dream like go and start taking shape and fully spend time with it, then I decide like I'm going to do this. Okay? So I've dreamt, I've decided, and then I'm going to just design. I'm going to
Mm,
design my plan, I'm going to design my path, and then I'm going to do. So dream, decide, design, do. And I think we usually skip the dream and decide.
yeah.
And we start looking at what we've done and what we're willing to do. And then we design a plan around that instead of designing it around a dream and a decision that I made that, yes, like, God, the universe, whoever you believe, like, put this on my heart for a reason.
Right.
And I'm going to make the decision that, because it's interesting, like they say, once you have the big enough why, the how falls into place. But we don't even let ourselves have the why. We don't even let ourselves.
It's so true. Yeah, and I was just thinking of that exact quote, right? When the why is big enough, the how shows up. I love that, Jacqueline. Dream, decide, design, and do. Part of the training for this Kilimanjaro trip that's in a few months is again putting a lot of miles on the trail.
Mhm.
And this week I celebrated my dad's life. He passed away 9 years ago, Wednesday of this week. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take the day off and I'm going to go dream a little bit, but I'm going to do it in the woods on the trail. And I set this impossible goal to try to clock 20 miles on the trail. And I just got out there. The most I've run is multiple times a week, 6 or 7 miles. So it's like 3 times of what I've done. And I'm like, you said, I'm like, I'm scared. Like, how am I going to do this? And I woke up and I just did it. And I did 17 miles and I did it in about 4.5 hours. And I felt so dang alive. Like at the end of that 17 miles, I was just thinking like, I'm going to be busted. I'm sore, but I felt so alive. And now I'm like, I could definitely do 20 miles. I could definitely do 30 or 40 miles. And it changed the way I think about myself. And it was incredibly impactful. And that all started with a dream and then the decision to go do it. And I designed the trail run and I just went out there and did it. It's a matter of just going and doing it. So thank you for that framework. And thank you for sharing your crisis that you got here.
Oh gosh.
But Jacqueline, if anybody can,
it's not a crisis, but
if anybody can do it, it's you.
It got my wheels spinning. It got my wheels spinning about how often we do that. We just like discount our dreams. So yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear about your marathon that you're going to run and, and to see the house that is completed when it's done and the Airbnb that you've got. And you're going to do all of those things because you're going to knock all that out. You're going to figure out the ways and the systems to do that. Mm-hmm. And so thank you for being open with us on that. I think that our listeners are always inspired by what you're doing and maybe by what I'm doing, clocking some miles, and by us building businesses and by us being parents and in relationships and just trying to take this 15-point plan and this system to continue to give us more energy, to continue to reduce our stress, to continue to put us in front of these amazing guests that we've had. So we thank everybody for listening. Don't forget, you can go to winmakegive.com. You can check all of our previous episodes, all of the guests that we've had. You can also download that tracker in the PDF so you can keep this 15-point plan right by you so you can look at it, check those points off daily, and track as your energy goes up, your stress goes down, and the impact that you make in this world continues to be that ripple effect that we all want to be.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.